Today's video is all about career mode and how it should look in F125. Now, I've made quite a few game ideas videos over the years on career mode, and I've decided today that we're all going to discuss it in one. Yes, based on what's wrong with F124, cutscenes and a lack of it, the fact that the matter is customization options as well, and also contracts / driver transfers, R&D, the list goes on and on and on. We'll start with contracts, because obviously our contracts in the end of the day and obviously driver transfers are ultimately where you drive. Now, introduced in career mode in F124, was you'd be able to sign a multi-year contract, and these are in the right steps. However, performance contracts based on your rating, I don't particularly like that, to be honest. I think it should be positioned based on points, or a constructor's position, like you will get, and also give us a bonus. But I mean, we don't have any fake money anymore. I mean, to be honest, the money that we did get in the previous games didn't go anywhere, probably on Claire's salary or whatever. No, Emma was the name of the previous agent, her salary probably, and her yacht fund. But yes, I'd love to see some better contracts, and obviously driver transfers. It can be mentioned every single year since F1 2019. F1 2019, the driver transfers were apparently too volatile. For EA and Codemasters, and I presume FOM probably complained that they were too volatile. Now, obviously, we want a little bit of volatility, because what they are now, and have been since F1 2020, is completely and utterly dull. And F1 Manager, even though it's not going to be around next year, or as rumoured, as I made a different video on that, go and check that one out if you haven't seen it already. With that, we've seen some wacky transfers, so there is absolutely no reason why they cannot do it in F125. And I don't want to hear, the game engine is keeping us back, etc, etc. You cannot keep peddling that excuse time and time again, especially the fact F1 Manager has been able to do it, and they're not even using the latest version of Unreal Engine. So, if they can do it, you can do it. There's no excuse. And I don't think there's going to be any hiding as well. F125, if career mode is not up to scratch, then that's it. I mean, the game, I made another video, another one, about the fact of the falling sales figures and how the contract is up for renewal in 2026. So could this be the last F1 game under EA / Codemasters? We'll have to wait and see. Are they going to put in minimum effort? We're expecting another breaking point as well. They must not put all their effort into breaking point, because if they do, the players will walk away. Breaking point is all very good, but the problem is it's too scripted a storyline, and the fact of the matter is all the content creators, the big ones, release videos on it before the game's even launched. So they've already seen, by the time that you come to play the game, the content creators have already released the entire story mode. There's no point playing that. There's no point. Very little enthusiasm to play in that mode. I've apologies about that. I've gone on a bit of a tangent about breaking point. But yes, back to driver contracts. They need to be improved. They need to be volatile, and also some more hard-coded ones as well. The example was Hamilton's move to Ferrari, hard-coded in F1 Manager 25. Sainz's move to Williams as well, I think, got added. So these are all stuff that is possible. F1 Manager has shown us what is possible. as well. And speaking of what they've shown us what is possible, obviously they've introduced pit lane starts, but something that was be introduced for this year's game at the start was the pit lane box. So when you're in driver career mode, obviously if you move teams, then you'll have a different pit box, but the pit box order always stays the same based on the what is 2020. For example, this year's game, it's 2023's order. It'll always be like that. In F1 Manager, it moves about, so they can move about the pit lane, which is a fantastic, and again another option people have been screaming for years, especially with my team as well, where you were always at the end of the pit lane. The other thing with contracts, is obviously we don't have any bonuses for us as well. It'd be nice even if it's just some stuff to spend or you unlock a specific item. That would be nice to have a bonus. As I say, customization on this year's game was another turn off. I think that they thought that the player base would play as real life or My Team Icon drivers, and no. Everyone wanted to play as themselves, and at the start we had 3 helmets to choose from. So yes, very, very poor on the customization options. We still got the same faces. They haven't really done anything with the faces. In FC this year has just had a complete overhaul of how you create your own face. You can pretty much do a lot of things. They need to implement that into the F1 games now. I mean, surely, they're under the same company. EA needs to tell Codemasters and give them that portion of code to just basically copy and paste to the F1 game as well. So yeah, I mean, that's just basically it with career mode. Basically, we want sponsors on the helmet as well. That would be nice. That just has to be the team sponsors. Maybe a few of the fake ones as well, that from my team that have now been underused. Want to see them. Speaking of my team, I've gone on around 268 tangents at this point, and I do apologise. My team, of course, is probably overdue an update, but I'm guessing that they're not going to do it as well, based on their contract. I think that driver career mode is going to be the focus for the next few years, unlike what Ara thinks, because he thinks that my team will get a big update next year. I don't think that's going to happen personally. But yes, so customization options, yes, really poor. We want the sponsors on the helmet, no excuse. Don't they even? I'm pretty sure MotoGP has something. I'm probably thinking of something else, but I'm pretty sure I've seen something in MotoGP, but I don't play the MotoGP game because I just crash at every corner. So if you do play the MotoGP game or any other game that in vanilla, does it allow you to have sponsors on the helmet? Obviously it's possible in the F1 game with mods, but I mean, yes, we all know how they feel about mods. But yes, obviously, back to contracts. I think that one thing that has been missing is, especially in this year's game, is options. Like, you get 4 options, which I guess we've been wanting, because obviously sometimes it has been a little bit too open, like you've been able to pick any team you want. But now, on F1 24, you get 4 options. You get 4 options? Like, there are some teams that you think they want to sign you, like Sauber and Haas, for example, in my career mode, were not interested at the end of season 1. So I do think there need to be some more options as well. Obviously, not every team will want to sign you, yes, so I do want that to think, but I don't want it just to be say, here's the 4 likely things. And they need to expand that coding for contracts as well. And obviously, I've mentioned this before, but there used to be in F1 2018 a sort of team rep thing, so like a relationship you have with each team and how likely they are going to offer you a contract. Now, obviously, this leads on to my next point. Interviews. Removed from F1 22, I think it was. Yeah. They need to be. We need Claire back in game. I know she was useless in answering our questions, or even Natalie Pinkham, because she was in Breaking Point in F1 23, answering questions, and the way that worked, you had that relationship factor. They need to build a similar system into career mode. Yes, obviously interviews were a big factor in affecting relationships with the team, relationships with your teammates as well. Maybe if you comment badly, they get focused up or down, determined to beat you or not. Obviously, we got the new rivalry system. That interviews would make that so much better as well, because the rivalries, they happen. The nice thing about rivalries on F1 24 is that they, you don't pick your rival, the game picks it for you. However, you don't get, there's no interviews or press stuff to show you. And obviously, if your rival, it'd be nice to have a press clipping from Elena to say, our rival has sent something to the media about you. I got that I got a little email from her to say that, just talk to the media. Rather than that, I want to hear exactly what Lewis had to say. I know exactly what, or even if it's just not even, or even if it's not between me and Lewis in that particular scenario, even if it's just like, a press clip of somebody, the Daily Mail, for example, who's talking right out of their bottom. Yes. As well. Let's move to R&D. I know I'm rattling through these. A lot of stuff I've already talked about in previous series. So I'm hoping the EA and Codemasters, hopefully, yeah. I mean, they're not going to watch this because they don't like me, but we don't get on. But I'm hoping that, if there are ideas there in those previous series, I'm just doing an overview because, at this point in time, I do think that we are going to get a pretty similar career mode to this year, next year. That is my realistic view. It's not the game, it's not the career mode that I want it to be, that I hope it isn't. I hope they have made improvements as detailed in this video, and also in the previous series as well that I've mentioned. But yes, sadly, no. Now, one thing that has been mentioned in the past is Formula 3, and yeah, every time I mention it, I seem to get 50-50 comments about this. Some people want it, some people don't. Obviously, the new Formula 3 cars that have just been announced, they're getting a new sashi sometime in the future. Either next year or the year after, they're getting a new sashi. About time to put it in the game. One of the reasons also to have Formula 3 is it would increase open lobbies to 30 cars. That would be a 30 car maximum as well, which would also then, I don't think, that would require them making some changes to the way online works, which I'll come back to in a separate episode. But obviously, for career mode, it'd be nice to have some progression from F3, F2, F1 as well. And when you're in career mode, it'd be nice potentially to see those results, but then I'd have to make fake drivers. But you can see the results in F1 Manager of F2 and F3. This is especially interesting when you have my team, having young junior driver programs. That you want to see how they're getting on in those junior formula. Obviously, it's not really pertinent in Drive Career Mode because you're probably not going to be interested in it, but that is something, that's probably the one thing about it, having that progression as well throughout the junior formula, not just F2. And then we come to R&D. Yes, R&D and the practice programs are very bland. to be honest, quick practice is a time saver. I mean, yes, but some of the practice programs are not realistic. And I do think that if they want to make practice realistic, then they need to talk to the teams, talk about what practice programs they run, and then try and condense that down, because obviously, I mean, nobody's going to be doing 35 laps of practice, to be honest. It's very minimal laps of practice. The fact that we've got a fuel saving and ERS saving program, I do not believe that the teams and drivers actually do that in real life. Like, they will put what they will do is they will put in X amount of fuel, they will put you on whatever medium hard tyre, and you will go out there and do some laps in them, and then they will base that off the data as well. And then obviously you can get feedback on the setup, which was something that was mentioned last year in last year's Game Ideas, have feedback on setups to help newer players to the game, help them with custom setups, because that's what happens in real life. Your engineer works with the driver to improve the setup, and to obviously they get the data on the different compounds, medium, hard, softs, as well. That would be again such a life changer to practice, because practice has been pretty much the same since F1 2016. It's not been they haven't made any changes really to it, other than quick practice and changing the UI, and that's it. That is not good enough. They need to make a significant change, and this is how they do it as well. Yes, but with, obviously, I've mentioned the racing. The racing, of course, has been a letdown. I mentioned that in the previous video. So obviously the racing is if the racing is up to scratch, and if they implement what I've mentioned here, the core bits in here, then I do think that it'd be much improved game. One of the things that I do think also they should look into is cutscenes and the vistas. So obviously, what I mean by I'll just quickly touch on cutscenes. So in past games, when we had R&D regulation changes, it gets announced in a cutscene. When we've had R&D failures, it gets announced in a cutscene. The other thing, of course, with vistas, I'm talking about two specific older F1 games, F1 2017 and F1 2010. In F1 2010, the background, you had like a trailer in the paddock, which is out of this world. The place for David Croft to interview with his 2010 star mic. But yes, it was, the fact of the matter is, that is a whole lot better than the poor house that we can't even customize, that seems to be made up of leftovers from F1 Live. Whole lot better if we had either that or what we got in F1 2017. We'd have different vistas, end up in different points around the paddock, as well, with like a laptop, which is probably realistic of where a driver spends his time. I know, of course, we have the driver rooms as well, and that's something else that they could consider doing from Breaking Point. But obviously, also we had out in the open, you'd have a different vista at the end of the race weekend, and you'd have like the track in the background. That, to me, that was F1 2017, and the graphics on that were not great, as Arrow's video has previously pointed out. Yes, but still, that background was out of this world. We all loved that. So yes, they need to bring these features back to make career mode more interesting, because if it is just a copy and paste, maybe refine a few things, no, it's not going to work. You're not going to be selling any copies. If you want to sell more copies, and I can not just the overhaul you made this year was not an overhaul. It was, you made a few changes to career mode which are good, but you need to make a whole load of changes, and I mean you need to change everything. That is the way that, in my opinion, you are drawing casual players to career mode time and time again. None of this live service BS, none of this podium pass stuff. Focus on making a career mode. Yes, that's what we want. We know, of course, sadly, we might most likely not going to get it. Yeah, let me know, of course, what you think. What should, of course, a career mode. Obviously, their contract's up in 2026, so potentially, if a new developer's listening to this, hello, welcome. This is what we would like to see in our career mode. F1 Manager has shown us what career mode should, has given us a glimpse of what career mode could look like in F1 25 and beyond. And they need to start implementing a lot of these things to make it work. But yes, that's where I'm going to leave it today's video. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, see plenty more F1 25 game ideas video. The next one will be about online as well. Of course, if you comment if you've got any ideas yourself, and let me know in the comments below, and of course I'll feature them in a future video. But until the next video then, I'll see you next time. Take care, thanks so much for watching, enjoy your day, and goodbye.